Can't stop this movement. Can't stop this movement. Comrades and friends, good night. You know, on the way, hands down indeed, we voting. You know, on the way over here, I was listening to a song, a reggae song. And throughout the whole song, it just kept asking a question, how come? How come? Was what the song kept asking. And I kept asking my questions. How come? These are some of the questions I have. How come Joan Messiah get beaten in St. Peter's? Twice! And now she come over here like a lapdog. How come? Tell me, how come? I have a next question. Tell me, how come after Chester Hughes failed the people of All Saints East, run up debts galore, he got to a next constituency? Tell me, how come? A next question. Tell me, how come that when the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party built 29 primary schools in this country, the United Progressive Party and the PLM only built 2 and they take credit for all? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come that the vision of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party built most of the clinics in this country, except for 1 or 2, built Mount St. John, and the UPP take credit? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come in this constituency and in my constituency, after 10 years of neglect, is only when the UPP having a meeting that they decide to manicure and cut the fields? Tell me, how come? Critical questions. Tell me, how come that the car park at East Bus Station, dog and horse living inside there? Tell me, how come? I never passed maths for CXC, but I still can count. So tell me, how come this government buy Food City building for nearly $15 million and then rent it out for $3,000 a month? Tell me, how come? Don't make no sense. Tell me, how come that after this government took this country to the IMF, when the IMF delegation came here to meet with the Minister of Finance, Harold Luffel, he refused to meet with them? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come that the IMF report on Antigua and Barbuda said the government spending has caused us to have a bleak economic future? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come that the young people, your future is in jeopardy? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come that every single elderly person throughout the Caribbean, bar none, has access to a grant that helps the elderly and poor people throughout the Caribbean? And UPP take credit like it's their program. Even people in the United States get it. Tell me, how come they're taking credit? Tell me, how come? Plenty things you have to tell me, how come? Tell me, how come that the most expensive road in Antigua's history, the one going from Pickett's all the way to Parham, is nearly $10 million a mile? Tell me, how come it's the worst road in Antigua and Barbuda? Tell me, how come? Tell me, how come? And this one going to hit you hard. Tell me, ministers of religion who don't know nothing about construction get contract for build sidewalk. Tell me how come? Tell me how come? Tell me how come? Tell me how come the church is so quiet when all this wrong taking place in this country? Tell me how come? Tell me how come? Tell me, why is it in my Antigua, the education levy, listen to this, the education levy that Baldwin Spencer protested against, you know, I was in school when he used to go down CMC, sit down on the steps during a hunger strike. That's after he leave and have his lunch or breakfast up by Joe Mike's. And tell me how come UPP taking credit for the education levy initiative? Tell me how come? Tell me how come that although they're crying it's a global recession, you ever realize whenever I go to UPP meetings, and you know why I go? I want to see the hypocrites. I want to see the hypocrites. And when I go and they ask me questions, I say in my passport there's no restriction on where I can go. I go any place in this country, anytime, wearing anything I feel. Tell me how come that when you look around this country, they say we in a recession, but it's only the UPP big shots driving SUVs and more SUVs. Tell me how come one of the UPP operators at Public Works have 2 government vehicles for him alone. Tell me how come? Tell me how come that since I've been campaigning and all I talk about is education, and I tell them when you look at Antigua and Barbuda, it's time for us to have a university. It's time for us to have a university. You know why? Some of you have children and family. You can go to school part-time. You're not too old. And after I talk about a university, tell me why they tell me nobody could come here. Tell me why they tell me it can't be done. Tell me why is it that the UPP government talks about doing so much in education? Because they have been increasing the number of scholarships that the Labour Party initiative created. But at the same time, when the children come home, they can't find work. Tell me how come? Tell me how come that they lower the pass mark to 40% and the passage percentage is still lower than under a Labour Party administration? Tell me how come? Tell me how come there are businesses in this country, people that live in our community, that charge the government 3 and 4 times the price for services and goods, and then they run and say, this is the best government ever. Tell me how come? Tell me how come? The Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, under the leadership of the Honourable Gaston Browne, we're ready. We are ready! When you look across Antigua, the people that are the angriest people, who are they? Who are the angriest people in Antigua? In my constituency, in All Saints West, my opponent, the Honourable Chandler Codrington, he goes out on the loudspeaker every morning and he has devotions. And after he has devotions, he starts abusing me left, right and center. Start abusing me left, right and center. You know the only thing I've been proposing for my constituency? A clinic. A clinic! That's what you're attacking me for. A clinic. You know what else I've been proposing for my constituency? All these parks around Antigua and Barbuda and the playing fields, put them under the National Parks Board. So when we get international grants, all these community parks get some. Train somebody from right within the community, either 2 or 3 people, give them employment so we can maintain them. That's what they're attacking me for. You know what I'm proposing? We have what's called a Constituency Development Fund. And let me tell you how this works. In a Constituency Development Fund, every single member of Parliament, whether opposition or government, must go to Parliament every year and present a development plan for your constituency. You work with the engineers in public works and you say, you know what? When you look at my constituency, like in All Saints West, we're going to do X miles of water, X miles of running electricity, X miles of building roads. We're now waiting for 5 years. At the end of every year, there's accountability. That's what they're attacking me for. That is what they're attacking me for. You know what else I'm proposing? This is what else I'm proposing. It's one thing to empower your community, but when it's only your immediate family members get empowered, that is not democracy. It is not democracy. When you see the young people on the corner and on the streets, they need empowerment. When you see people in their homes, they need empowerment. When you see the business community, whether they're in St. John's or they're in the country, whether it's a large supermarket or a store, whether it's a young man who has mechanic skills, or the fisherman who wants to go out, but something is wrong with his boat engine, so he might need a little backing at the bank to get a loan to fix his engine. They need support. They need support. When you look at my opponent's track record, he said he introduced tilapia as a household name. Since me little me fish curry. Since me little me fish curry. He said he introduced a wind generator system in the constituency. But as the Minister of Public Works, how he never put one in his house to save the government some money? How he never do that? When you look at my opponent, he built what's called a community center, an old rotten out container. And he put a stand in front of it and had the nerve to go on ABS TV and said, I'm doing wonderful things in the community. You think our name, dog? You think our name, dog? We are not dogs. This is what I'm proposing as an alternative. Every single community in All Saints West must have a community center. Every single community must have a community center. And when you look around, I'm unemployed because I'm running for office. But anybody in my constituency comes around my constituency office, you go upstairs, you talk to one of the young ladies upstairs, and we sign up your device and you get free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi! You understand what I'm saying? When young people come and they say, Mr. Browne, I'm looking a job. It's not just you put them someplace and you tell them work. You have a conversation and you ask them questions. What do you think you want to do in 5 years, in 10 years? What are your interests? Can you do a resume? Have you ever done an interview? And we sit down with them and put them through the training process. And afterwards, when they go out and the interview, I say, how are you going to dress? If you're a young girl, you can't go with no short skirt. If you're a young man, you can't go with no pants below your waist. And remember, when you get the job, perform in such a way so when I recommend the next person, they can get a job too. That's what they're attacking me for. That's what they're attacking me for. The Antigua Labour Party is on a move. You're not hearing me? The Antigua Labour Party is on a move. Let's sense out the nonsense. Every single thing that the UPP administration talks about now, the school meals program, it's not new. It's not new. We're proposing to make it better and make it completely free. More nutritious to the people. It's not new. Everything that they're proposing that they have done, even if they did it in the first 5 years. They did it in the first 5 years. For the second 5 years, people getting fatter and fatter, the cars getting bigger and bigger, the house getting broader and broader, and when you see them on the airplane, they want to sit in the front of first class. And guess what? Know the day of reckoning is coming. Know that judgment day is approaching. They're losing weight like crazy. They're losing weight like crazy. Because when you neglect the people of this country, you have to answer. You have to answer. And the time has come for Chandler Codrington running around in an oversized suit looking for sympathy, talking about Christianity, and at the same time cussing me. It's time for you to answer. It's time for you to answer. Next week when we go to Sevier Farm, I'm going to make sure I personally invite him, because I'm going to tell him, you can talk about my personal life as much as you want. You can talk about where I used to live from what I used to do. The fact remains, you have done nothing. Nothing! Nothing! You are the one who came out and told us, if we don't arrest all the Labour Party people, they are going to lock up all of us. You are the one who came out and told us, they're not helping me, they're not supporting me. Now how you turn around and say, leadership matters, and UPP more than ever. We can't trust you. Which Chandler Codrington will show up? The same thing with Joan Messiah. Joan Messiah went over to St. Peter's, and she said, oh, I'm from St. Peter's. Now she come off All Saints. She from All Saints. What a wicked set of people. Wicked set of people. When they come to your house and they start to talk and campaign, and I know because I listen, I go to all their meetings. When they start to campaign privately, you know what they tell you? We mess up, we do a bad job, we had some bad eggs. But if you give us a chance, we really have investors. They say give us a chance, we really have a plan. They say give us a chance, we really going to deliver. Promise is a comfort to a fool. Promise is a comfort to a fool. The Labour Party built this country. All the hotels in Antigua and Barbuda, all the hotels, the Labour Party was instrumental in making sure that they're here. The primary schools, the high schools, Labour Party brought them here. The education system, before it is what it is now, Labour Party built it. This is the party that VC Bird built. This is the country that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party built. And let me tell you, there were times when as a party, we may have lost sight of taking you first. And we've learned. We have learned. But if it's one thing you all must remember, do you know what time? When we had several hurricanes, we never come to you with excuses. We came with delivery. Before Alan Stanford came to Antigua, we never came to you with excuses. We came with delivery. Back in the day, when students used to get scholarship to go to university, parents never had to pay anything. You used to get a full scholarship, and you used to get a stipend, and you used to get 2 round tickets to go to school and come back. No parents are struggling. Back in the day, when we had primary school, and you couldn't make it, you could primary and still graduate from high school. Back in before they call it universal education, we were graduating everybody from high school. Back in the day, Labour did it. Labour did it. And Labour is ready to do it again. Comrades and friends, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is ready. You are ready. Get your weapon. Get your weapon. Get your weapon. And when you go and get your weapon, check it. Check your weapon. And some of them, even though you might be a female, they might put a mistake and put a male. Walk right back up to Albert and say, no, make this right. Make it right. Because when the time comes and you have to go out and put your ex, walk out with your chest held high. Walk out with your chest held high. Labour built this country. Labour is back. We are one. So when they come to you and tell you nonsense, ask them several questions. How come? How come? How come? Thank you, everybody, and good night.